Hello there, Starcraft 2 fans, and welcome to another broadcast. This is Katu, and we are in the semi-finals from the GamingOttawa Starcraft 2 League. And of course, these players are in Code A of this same league I just mentioned, and they are playing for the $15 top prize with a $5 second place prize. Of course, that going to first and second, and these are just the semifinals. So whoever wins this best of 3 series is going to guarantee himself at least $5. The other player, unfortunately, is going to have to re-register and play in our StarCraft 2 League next season as well. And for those of you who are interested, it's very easy. You go to GamingOttawa.ca, just click on Leagues, click on StarCraft 2, and you can follow the directions from there to sign up. Very simple, costs absolutely nothing to sign up. It's an absolute ton of fun. And while these two players are macroing up here, I'll just tell you guys a bit about it. Of course, it's going to be a Protoss versus Protoss, but the way it's going to be run in Season 2 is it's going to be a Swiss-style tournament, and basically what that means is that players are always playing against players of their own skill. And the way that works is that in the first round, it's just random. Everyone plays someone. In the second round, everyone who's 1-0 is going to play other players who are 1-0. And the same goes for the players who are 0-1. Players who are 0-1 will play against other players who are 0-1. And so on and so forth. So in the second round, 2-0 players are playing against 2-0 players, 1-1 players are playing against 1-1 players, and 0-2 players are playing against 0-2 players. And you just keep playing players who have the same standing as you, who have the same record. So you're always playing against players of your same caliber. And look at this. Oh, we've got a 2 gateway going down from Omni Eulogy. Meanwhile, only a single. Oh, wow. So we got double gateways going down from both of these players quite blindly. So very interesting. And I will continue actually explaining this game or rather the way that our league works a little bit later, as this game is starting to heat up. So both players went for these blind gateways. Now they are in close positions, and Kessler here is saving up a bit of Chrono Boost. So is Omni Eulogy. No type of Cybernetic score on the way just yet, but we do have an assimilator. So that is very peculiar, an assimilator with no Cybernetic score. I feel like these are some very specific builds that I just don't even know exist. And meanwhile, we do see that Kessler does have enough minerals for a cybernetic score, but will he put one down? So both players here just making a bunch of zealots, and it looks like it's going to be Omni Eulogy who's going to make the first cybernetic score, and Kessler who's going to try and make as many zealots as possible. But oh no, he's actually supply blocked right now, and he will indeed put down his cybernetic score, probably simply because he was supply blocked and he couldn't get more zealots out. So finally those two zealots gonna hunt down that probe who gave up on life. But of course he's just a robot, so unless he's the Centennial Man, he isn't actually a human and he cannot actually die. But meanwhile, it looks like Omni Eulogy, he does have 4 zealots out versus only the 3 of Kessler. Now, the big problem being that it's going to be 4-on-4, and Kessler is going to have probes closer to home that he can bring out and help defend. Meanwhile, we do have 2 stalkers on the way for Omni Eulogy. He doesn't have his warp gate getting researched just yet, but it looks like these zealots are going to try to charge up the ramp, try to do some damage. He does get that first swipe in, and this is going to be very close. It's all going to come down to this micro from these players. And look at that Omni Eulogy as well as Kessler doing some phenomenal micro, both of these players, but it looks like Omni Eulogy is going to be able to just barely overpower his opponent. He's also got these 2 stalkers on the way, and it looks like this game might be over in very short order here, as Kessler is now under siege. He's got some stalkers on the way, but will they be able to do enough? It looks like these probes moving out, getting a nice surround on the 1 stalker of Omni Eulogy, and now it looks like Kessler will in fact stabilize, as there are no more units on the way from Omni Eulogy, and that 1 stalker just going to run back home. So right now, let's take a look at the damage that was cost. Kessler is down to just 19 probes versus the 24. Make that 25 of his opponent. And Omni Eulogy pumping up to 5 gateways. He wants to go for a huge all-in push here as his warp gate does complete. And you know what? I completely agree with that. He just killed a bunch of probes of his opponent. And the only way his opponent can get back into, or rather, yeah, if he lets his opponent just macro up, he might be able to get back into this game. However, if he does go for a strong enough attack, he will be able to break up. Now, the one thing he needs to be very careful with is if his opponent goes for a few sentries, he might be able to just perpetually just block at the bottom of his ramp here with those force fields, and that means that we're definitely going to have to see some pylons going down for some zealot warpins on the high ground so that our player Omni Eulogy can actually break up and attack. Meanwhile, Kessler himself is going up to just 4 gateways, and he's adding on a robotics facility instead. And that could be quite risky because, of course, the production out of 5 gateways tends to outproduce 3 gateways, and it's all going to come down to whether or not he goes straight for Immortals or if he goes for Observers and perhaps a Colossus Den. Of course, every time I say Colossus Den, I mean a robotics bay, but Colossus Den just sounds so much more awesome. Now it looks like Omni Eulogy is getting ready to move out. He's got his Warp Gate technology about to finish. He's got a Proxy Pylon up here, not the closest, and he's definitely going to want to bring a probe with him, as I said, to put some pylons in close range here so he can warp some zealots on the high ground, or else it would be very difficult to take this ramp. Now, however, it doesn't seem to really matter because Kessler actually hasn't gone for any sentries whatsoever. Here comes Omni Eulogy. He's got a huge army compared to his opponent. 4 zealots to 1 zealot, 6 stalkers to 4 stalkers, and Omni Eulogy just powering his way up here. Right now, if I was him, I would even just cancel this Nexus and just warp in a bunch of extra units to keep attacking here. A bunch more probes going down for Kessler, and he doesn't even have an Immortal coming out of this robotics facility, which would be so good to deal with these stalkers. And at the same time, though, it looks like Omni Eulogy not in it for this quick attack. And Artosis would absolutely love him. He is just trying to get ahead. Meanwhile, though, he is going to lose all of his stalkers, it looks like here. He is starting to micro them away, but down goes 1, down goes 2, and now there's only 1 left, and it will definitely not survive. But he will have this extra Nexus up, and at the same time, if we look at the unit counter station, we see 31 probes versus 21 probes, and 1 stalker versus 4 stalkers. So right now, Kessler, if he wants to get back into this game, he really needs to maybe chrono boost out Immortal, maybe get a couple extra stalkers. And the only reason I say chrono boost out an Immortal is because he's got an absolute ton of gas, and he definitely would like to spend some of that. But instead, it looks like he's going to, in fact, go for a robotics bay, and though he's way behind on the economy, and he doesn't even know actually that his opponent, or no, he does, because he's got an observer. Never mind, I could not see the observer on the map because it's perfectly placed over that Nexus, and it will get sniped by these photon cannons. So Omni Eulogy here with these 3 photon cannons is going to be just safe and sound, and Kessler is going to try to go for this 1 base bust, but he's just had so many probe losses that his economy is so far behind. Look at that. We see Omni Eulogy getting about twice the income as his opponent, mostly due to the fact that he's just got a far more economic mining, far more efficient than Kessler does. Oh boy. So it looks like here Omni Eulogy is getting ready for yet another attack. He's going for a timing attack with his +1 ground weapons. That'll definitely help him out. And on top of that, it's going to actually happen before a robotics facility comes down. Now, one thing that has changed is there's a sentry now for Kessler. And if Kessler gets a really nice force field down off the ramp, he might be able to hold this off quite nicely. But there are so many zealots and stalkers. Nice force field goes down, but there is a small hole there for the units to come up. And up will come the zealots. And I actually really like that play by Kessler, letting some of the zealots come in so he can deal with them while the force field does the dirty work for him. He's got his Colossus. Wow, I was actually stuttering there for a second, but he's got his Colossus coming out. But will it be enough? 3 more stalkers as well, but these stalkers of Omni Eulogy are just moving forward. Looking at the unit cannon station, they are neck and neck in stalkers. This Colossus really needs to do a lot of damage. If he can just micro this Colossus perfectly to let his stalkers do some damage, he's going to be in a great position. But no, the Colossus does get sniped down by the stalkers of Omni Eulogy. And now looking at the unit cannon station, we see that the stalkers are about to snipe all the last stalkers of Kessler, and now they're going to work on these probes, doing some more economic damage. And of course, Kessler still doesn't have an expansion up. He's got no Colossus, as that his 1 Colossus got sniped, and both players are about even in their army value. So right now we do see Omni Eulogy has got double the supply of his opponent. He's going for 2 extra robotics facilities and a Twilight Council, so deciding to tech up all at once. He's also got the +1 upgrades, definitely going to help, and he's trying to take the gold. That is some greedy stuff. Wow, I did not expect to see that. So meanwhile, Kessler, though, going to spot that, going to try and deal with that, but a ton of Zealots and Sentries moving up here. And it's all going to come down to the micro of Kessler. Will he be able to run these Stalkers away quickly enough? And the answer might be no. Kessler there doing a couple of small blunders. And meanwhile, it looks like Omni Eulogy going to be able to force these Stalkers to run back home, especially with his own Stalkers moving out right now. And with some nice control of those Zealots, he could have actually gotten that Stalker, but unfortunately he will not. He will decide to just keep his gold base instead. And looking at the unit counter station, we see that with his economy so low, he's just not able to get out the units that he really wants to get. Meanwhile, we do see that the +1 armor for Omni Eulogy is on the way. He's got a much stronger army, and it's just sitting here at the bottom of the ramp. And once again, Kessler does not have any sentries to help him deal with that. And meanwhile, we do see that Omni Eulogy actually has a couple of sentries, and the Guardian Shield definitely going to help quite a bit on this attack. So we see a huge bunch of probes there moving out. They're going to go for those gold bases. More Stalkers getting warped in. And it looks like this may be the final attack. Omni Eulogy getting ready here at the bottom of the ramp. He's got more than enough units to attack. Look at those army values. He's got about double the army value of his opponent. But Kessler actually moving out, deciding to attack himself. And his Zealots were actually stuck behind his Stalkers. But it doesn't matter because he's going to GG. FG's Omni Eulogy going to be winning this first game in the best-of-3 series of the top half of the bracket semifinal. And Kessler going down, and basically just from the beginning of the game of that 4 Zealot 2 Stalker push that we saw coming from Omni Eulogy, where he sniped about 4 or 5 probes of his opponent. Since then, he's just had that economic advantage, and he's just known to push that economic advantage more and more, and he kept getting a couple of extra probe kills. So good job by FG's Omni Eulogy. We're going to be going into this second set of the best-of-3 series, so stay tuned.